U.S. after New York City registered what's likely its worst air quality of all time Wednesday. Cities to the south and west, from New Jersey and Pennsylvania to D.C. and beyond, enveloped in that toxic haze.
My daughter's got asthma really bad, so she's just stuck in the house. She can't really come out at all.
Overnight, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania hitting 491 on the air quality index's 1 to 500 scale, even worse than New York City's 484 on Wednesday. In Washington, D.C., the city's first code purple air quality advisory, signifying very unhealthy air.
When they told me it was code purple, I thought it was getting better. So we're not even used to this language to deal with this type of air quality.
Our Rob Marciano on the National Mall.
Yesterday was bad, today even worse here in D.C. Smoke shrouding our nation's capital. At the other end of the mall, standing at 550 feet tall, the Washington Monument, can't even see it.
The White House forced to postpone a Pride event on the South Lawn that some 2,000 people were set to attend. The Nationals calling off tonight's baseball game. In Newark, New Jersey, the state's largest school district canceling all classes. Health officials warning continued exposure to the particulates in the air is especially harmful to young children.
This is because they breathe more air relative to their size and are more active than most adults.
Parents now told to watch for signs like chest pain, shortness of breath, and wheezing. And the source of the smoke, those wildfires burning in Canada. Hundreds of them still out of control in multiple parts of the country. The U.S. has sent assets and more than 600 firefighters to Canada so far. President Biden speaking with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, promising to send more air tankers and any additional help they need to put out the fires, calling them a stark reminder of the impacts of climate change.
Our thanks to Trevor for that. Let's get straight to Rob Marciano. Rob, how long will all this smoke hang around?
Well, it's, get some widespread relief, really not until next week. You'll see pockets of some clarity, but we're not going to get out of this for some time to come. As for yesterday, Lindsay, the results are in. When you talk about population density, it was the worst air quality our nation has seen as a whole since 2006. All right, let's get to those colorful maps we've grown accustomed to the past few days and track where this unhealthy air is going to. Pittsburgh, Buffalo, you're going to get more of it by tomorrow morning. Philadelphia, Baltimore, and through southern Jersey, Delaware as well, and as far back as Louisville and Columbus, Ohio, maybe even Fort Wayne, Indiana by tomorrow night. So we're not quite out of this for sure. But what will happen over the weekend, and some of this smoke will thin, but the air will still be unhealthy in many spots. A front's going to push toward us. It'll help break down that blocking pattern and bring a change in the wind speed and wind direction come Monday night, and hopefully some much-needed rain to those wildfires in Canada, but that's not till at least Monday or Tuesday. Lindsay?
The skies behind you, I must say, though, do look a bit better than they've been looking the last few days. Rob, our thanks to you. Now to the investigation into the former president. Sources tell ABC News that federal prosecutors have told former President Trump that he is the target of a criminal probe over his handling of classified documents after he left the White House. ABC's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has the very latest.
Tonight, the special counsel putting Donald Trump on notice he could soon face federal indictment, delivering a letter warning the former president that he is the target of an ongoing grand jury investigation into his handling of hundreds of classified documents. Trump has insisted all along that he's done nothing wrong.
All I know is this: everything I did was right. We have the Presidential Records Act, which I abided by 100%.
But Special Counsel Jack Smith has been investigating whether Donald Trump illegally retained classified information and then obstructed the government's efforts to retrieve it. After leaving the White House, Trump spent months haggling with the National Archives over whether he had in fact returned all government records as required by law. The Justice Department then obtaining a court-ordered subpoena. But when the FBI learned Trump still had sensitive records, despite his team's insistence that they had turned everything over, agents raided his home at Mar-a-Lago, seizing more than 100 classified documents.
The shameful raid and break-in of my home, Mar-a-Lago, was a travesty of justice.
Trump has argued that he declassified any material that he took from the White House.
You're the President of the United States. You can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it.
But Trump's attorneys have offered no specific evidence in court that records were declassified, and prosecutors clearly believe they have evidence that proves otherwise, including Donald Trump on tape allegedly admitting he held on to sensitive material.
rather damning there. Pierre Thomas joins us now. Pierre, what are we hearing from the former president tonight?
Well, Lindsay, in a sign of just how serious the situation may be, Trump has not posted anything at all on social media all day. But we're told he's been meeting with advisors at his golf club in New Jersey, clearly bracing for the possibility of an upcoming indictment. Lindsay?
Pierre Thomas for us. Our thanks to you, Pierre. Now to the Supreme Court in a major ruling that upheld the Voting Rights Act. The court found Alabama's newly drawn voter maps deny black voters a voice. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh joined the liberal justices in the 5-4 decision. Alabama will now have to redraw its maps that could give Democrats another seat in the House, and the decision could lead to changes in other states as well. ABC News Live anchor Terry Moran reports.
Tonight, a Supreme Court stunner. Two conservative justices, Chief Justice John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh, joined the court's liberals in striking down Alabama's congressional map that critics said diluted the power of black voters. In a 5-4 decision, the court upheld a lower court ruling that found a redistricting map drawn by the Republican-led Alabama legislature violated the Voting Rights Act because it only drew one district out of 7 that had a majority of black voters, even though more than 1 in 4 Alabamians are black. In his opinion for the court, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that the Voting Rights Act does not permit a state to provide some voters less opportunity to participate in the political process. The court's ruling, Roberts added, rested on a fair reading of the record before us, adding that record contained undeniable evidence of Alabama's extensive history of repugnant racial and voting-related discrimination. In a fierce dissent, Justice Clarence Thomas said the approach Roberts and the liberals endorsed amounted to hijacking the districting process to pursue a goal that has no legitimate claim under our constitutional system, the proportional allocation of political power on the basis of race. Today's ruling will have immediate impacts on another congressional district in Alabama with a majority black population and more.
This is going to have an impact far beyond Alabama and will have an impact on who controls the United States House of Representatives after the 2024 election.
Wide-reaching implications here. Terry Moran joins us. Now, Terry, just give us a little more detail about how this ruling could have far-reaching implications beyond just the state of Alabama.
Well, Lindsay, this ruling really does resuscitate the Voting Rights Act after the Supreme Court really diminished its importance 10 years ago in the case of Shelby County versus Holder, and it does so by making the redistricting the real battleground in voting rights cases. The Cook Political Report, which analyzes and handicaps elections, has already today changed its ratings for 5 House races, moving each one of them towards the Democrats, and that's just the beginning. The Cook Political Report saying this really sends shockwaves right across the political landscape. Lindsay?
It sure does. Terry Moran for us just outside the Supreme Court. Thanks so much, Terry. At least 19 children and 1 adult were injured when a boardwalk collapsed in Texas in Surfside Beach on the Gulf of Mexico. Multiple rescue helicopters rushed to the scene, transporting 5 people to the hospital. The injuries are said to be non-life-threatening. The cause of the collapse is under investigation. Overseas, a horrific knife attack in the French Alps targeted children. A man ran through a park and stabbed 4 young children between 22 months and 3 years old. One of the victims was in a stroller and was stabbed repeatedly. Here's James Longman.
Tonight, the moment a man suspected of stabbing 4 children at a French playground is taken down, shot by police. Here he is, knife in hand, being chased by a passerby. At around 9:45 a.m. at this tourist hotspot at the base of the French Alps, the 31-year-old is alleged to have begun stabbing adults and children at random, at least one attacked while in their stroller. According to officials, the youngest victim is just 22 months old, the oldest 3, some now with life-threatening injuries. The suspect is described by authorities as a Syrian national, and he also attacked 2 adults before he was stopped. He's now in the hospital in police custody. Tonight, France's President Emmanuel Macron calling it an attack of absolute cowardice, saying some victims are between life and death.
James Longman joins us now. James, any word on a motive?
No, Lindsay, the motive remains unknown, although it's not thought to be terror-related. This is a man who was known to be homeless. He'd been seen washing in the lake by police, but other than that, hadn't had any run-ins with them. He had an asylum application granted to him in Sweden 10 years ago. Now, those children, the 4 children, they remain in a very serious condition in the hospital. The prosecutor said today their condition was extremely fragile. But I do want to leave you with a little bit of hope. We understand the mayor says that when this attack took place, 6 high school students who were nearby decided to link arms around the children to try to shield them. A bit of light in the darkness. Lindsay?
We appreciate that silver lining there. James Longman, our thanks to you. Joran Vandersloot has arrived in the U.S. after his extradition from Peru. He's the prime suspect in the disappearance of Alabama teenager Natalie Holloway 18 years ago. Now here to face charges that he extorted Holloway's mother for $250,000. ABC's Elwin Lopez reports from Birmingham, Alabama.
Nearly 2 decades ago, Natalie Holloway vanished on her high school graduation trip in Aruba. And tonight, the main suspect in the Alabama teen's disappearance, Joran Vandersloot, is on American soil behind bars in Birmingham. He is facing extortion and wire fraud charges for allegedly demanding $250,000 from Holloway's mother. That sum reportedly in exchange for information leading to the teen's body. This morning, Vandersloot handed over to the FBI by authorities in Peru. Back in 2005, authorities say Holloway was last seen driving off with 3 young men, including 17-year-old Vandersloot. He was never charged and has maintained his innocence over the years. Tonight, her mother Beth stating in part, "I am overcome with mixed emotions," adding that today she is hopeful that some small semblance of justice may finally be realized.
She's certainly been waiting a long time for that. Elwin Lopez joins us now. Elwin, what happens next in this case?
Yeah, Lindsay, Vandersloot will be arraigned here tomorrow at this courthouse behind me. He will not be here in the United States for long. He still has to finish his sentence in Peru. But, Lindsay, if he's convicted here, he would have to return to the U.S. in 15 years. Lindsay.
Elwin Lopez, our thanks to you. To the Florida neighbor accused of shooting and killing a mother of 4 through her front door, now appearing before a judge. The suspect has been charged with manslaughter and assault and ordered to remain behind bars, with the sheriff's department now listing her as a suicide risk. Here's ABC's Victor Kendall.
Tonight, the woman accused of killing her neighbor and shooting the mother of 4 right through her front door in front of her children, appearing before a Florida judge.
Good morning, ma'am. What is your name? Susan Lorenz.
Susan Lorenz, seen in a green suicide prevention vest in the Marion County Jail, listed as a suicide risk, according to the Sheriff's Department. Police say on Friday, Lorenz confronted 35-year-old Ajika A.J. Owens' children for playing in this field near her residence. Lorenz allegedly throwing an iPad and skates at the children. When Owens knocked at Lorenz's apartment, her 10-year-old son standing by her side, police say the neighbor fired a single shot through the locked front door, striking her in the chest. For days, Owens' family called for Lorenz's arrest. Florida has a stand-your-ground law that permits the use of deadly force if there is a presumption of fear. The sheriff saying the law does not apply in this case. Lorenz charged with manslaughter.
This situation is a prime example of when it was not justified. It was simply a killing.
Neighbors say this isn't the first time she's argued with children.
She's got history. She was the one who started everything in the first place.
And Lorenz will be held behind bars pending a bond hearing. If convicted, she could face up to 30 years in prison. Lindsay?
Victor, thank you. Christian evangelist and former presidential candidate Pat Robertson passed away early this morning. Best known for his political commentary on the 700 Club and as the founder of the Christian Broadcasting Network. Robertson started the network back in 1960, eventually growing to become incredibly influential in Christian conservative circles. Known for his contributions in turning the religious right into a powerful political force, he also drew outrage with many of his claims, including when he agreed with Jerry Falwell that abortionists and gay people were to blame for 9/11. Pat Robertson was 93 years old. So much more to get to here on Prime. Coming up, what millions could be facing in the months ahead as student loan repayments are on the cusp of coming due. But next, Juju Chang looks at the possible link between the increase in recreational marijuana and a rare condition that for some has become fatal.
We became more and more aware of this condition because more and more people are now using marijuana products. Marijuana products now have far more THC, which we believe is the main chemical compound responsible for this.
In November 2024 election. And again, we always talk political calculation when it comes to Donald Trump, but we're talking about very
relate to a few reports relating to ABC, a live report talking about a knife incident in France. The youngest victim, 22-month-old child was the youngest. You had an incident that federal indictments could be opposed on Trump, and you had a few other incidents with talking about the weather. There's wildfires in Canada. They continue to burn, affecting various cities in the United States. The code purple, code red. The code purple is unhealthy conditions relating to air quality, and code red is hazardous conditions relating to air quality. So the continuation of that passed on to these various states. From Philadelphia, D.C., Virginia, New Jersey, New York, Detroit, the Midwest areas, some of the the central areas, states, and pretty much heading down south, man. Scripture talks about 2 Timothy 3:1. Notice in the last days perilous times shall come. Perilous goes to bad, evil times. So perilous goes to the bad things that's happening. Scripture talks about Jeremiah 28 of the prophets prophesies of war, evils, and pestilence. War, you're seeing that all abroad. You're seeing evils go into terrible, bad, dangerous times, and you go into pestilence, which goes to plagues, man. That's Jeremiah 28:8. This is just continuation of that, talking about that. Let me see something. And as far as the Canadian wildfires, they still have it under control, so it could be burning for days, for even weeks, man. The longer it burns, the more it's going to directly, indirectly affect, regarding here in the States, man. Various states in the country, in this country, U.S., man. Second Esdras 9:1. Go to G&T and read it. More about the signs at the end. Good News Translation. He answered me and said, measure carefully in your mind when you see some of the predicted signs have occurred. So measure regarding the times that the Lord will begin to visit the earth which he has made, man. So the predicted signs, things that were predicted since the beginning, man. Then you will know that is the very time when the Most High is about to visit the world which he has made. And that's what the Lord is doing. He's visiting the world which he has made by different signs he's allowed to manifest here, man. Number 3. So when they shall appear in the world, earthquakes, tumults of people, that goes to uproars, intrigues of nations, wavering leaders, unstable leaders, confusion of princes, man. Then you will know that it was of these that the Most High spake from the days that were of old, from the beginning. So these things were spoken from prophets. Each generation of captivities they prophesize and preach about. As I said, Jeremiah 28:8. The prophesies of war, evils, and pestilence, man. So these are parts of those things: war, evils, and pestilence. Number 5, number 5, for just as with everything that has occurred in the world, the beginning is evident, and the end is manifest. So the beginning is obvious, man, and the end is manifested, is being made known, man. Number 6. So also are the times of the Most High. The beginnings are manifest in wonders, mighty works, and ends in penalties and in signs. So you see in the mighty works the manifestation, signs that the Lord is allowed to happen on earth. Ends in penalties. Those penalties relates to pretty much the consequences, even judgments, man. And you're seeing different things. For example, of that, you're seeing a lot of incidents relating to knife, guns. You know, Scripture talk about the Lord is known by the judgment he executes. 9:16 of Psalms. The Lord is angry at the wicked every day. Psalm 7 and 11. So the diversity of judgments he uses, he's known by the diversity of judgments he uses. So that's parts of that consequence, those penalties he's allowed to manifest on earth, man, upon the people, man. Because of what? The wickedness, man. The increased iniquity. Scripture talk about the Lord created spirits for vengeance. They shall lay on sore strokes and appease the one that made them. 39 of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 39:28, or about 31 verse. Then it talks about what elements are used. You know, different elements used. Wild animals, different things he uses. Scripture talks about 1 Thessalonians 5:3. When they say peace and safety, and then what? Sudden destruction. That's unexpected. That's going to come upon the people, man. You know, when they say peace and safety and a sudden destruction, like a woman in travail, 1 Thessalonians, let me get it. We get the NIV, which is New International Version. 3. While people are saying peace and safety, the destruction will come on them suddenly, which is unexpectedly, and the labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape, which goes to the birth pangs. But you brothers and sisters are not in darkness, so that day should surprise you, should surprise you like a thief. So be not in darkness, be not blinded, be aware, be circumspect, and not as fools as wise, redeeming the times, because the days are evil. Ephesians 5:15 and 16, man. So be not blinded, and be not overtaken by surprise unexpectedly when these things come, man. And that goes to being sober through the Spirit, understanding the times that we're in, man. That's why it says, be circumspect as fools, not as wise, redeeming the times. The days are evil. We're in evil days, man. A lot of things are going on, man, from a spiritual aspect. A lot of weird, strange things, man. You know, in this country, all over the world, man. So we have to be paying attention, man. We have to be circumspect. You know what I mean? We have to be watching, man. Watch, because you know not the hour of when the Son of Man cometh, man. The Scripture talks about. It's high time to wake out of sleep, because our salvation may be what? Nearer than we believe. Romans 13:11. You know what I mean? Things are getting closer, man. Scripture talks about when they, let me say, Ezekiel 7:25. Similar, somewhat language of 1 Thessalonians 5:3. Scripture talks about in Amos 3:6. Of evil in the city, and have the Lord not have done it. So evil in the city happens. Is the Lord responsible of it? Yes, because Isaiah 45:7 talk about I created light, I created dark, I created peace, I created evil. I, the Lord, did all those things, man. Destruction cometh, and they say, seek peace, and there shall be none, man. So destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. Just like they say, it's the people are going to say it's safe, it's peace and safety, but it actually is not, man. So destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. So illusion or mirage of peace is going to be, but optically, from the optics, but behind that is really going to be chaos coming, shortly ensuing. Man. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then they shall seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest, the counsel from the ancients. So they're going to seek. That goes to that knowledge to and fro that they're going to seek. Amos 8 and 11 and 12, man. But they're not going to find it, man. That vision and the related to that knowledge is not going to be there when they seek for it, man. The king shall mourn, and the princes shall be clothed with desolation, destruction, and the hands of the people in the land shall be in trouble because of the condition of what's going to be going on. And I will do unto them after their ways according to their deserts, and I will judge them, and they shall know that I am the Lord. So that's what that is. That's why you're seeing certain things happen, you know. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 6. Real quick. We'll get it for GNT real fast. Which is a Good News Translation. Look, the days are coming when I will begin to come near to visit those who live on earth. I'll go with 2nd Ezra 9:1 and 2, man. So the days are coming, man. These are the days that the Lord's what? Beginning to what? Visit the earth which he has made. When I will begin to examine those who unjustly inflict harm in their cruelty. For when the righteous are in authority, people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, people mourn. So wicked, people are mourning because the wicked's cruelty, they're pretty much their rulership styles, man. And when I begin to examine those who unjustly inflicted harm in their cruelty, and that goes to pretty much the ones in the position of power, man. When the humiliation of Zion is complete, when the seal is placed on the age that begins to pass away, and I'll perform these signs. The scrolls will open out with your books, in view of the firmament, and all will see together. Infants a year old will speak, that goes to prematurely, and their voices, and pregnant women will give birth to premature babies of 3 or 4 months. But they will live and dance. The fields that were not sown shall suddenly appear sown, and full warehouses shall suddenly be found empty. So supply is going to be scarce and empty. 24. 23. The trumpet will sound with a blast. When they hear it, they will suddenly be terrified, a certain distinct sound. And in that day, friends will make war with friends, so friends against friends, they'll be like enemies. The earth along with those who live. Read that 24 again. In that time, friends will make war with friends, so people are going to turn against each other, become like enemies. Like enemies. The earth along with those who live on it will be terrified. And the sources of the rivers will stand still, the waters, so that they don't run for 3 hours. And that's the actual physical waters, and pretty much the flow and operation of society is going to begin to halt or stop. Then everyone who is left after all these things, those who endure to end, the same shall be saved. The same shall be saved, as Scripture says. Then everyone who is left after all these things that I have foretold to you will be saved. So the ones who endure all this, the ones who endure to the end, the same shall be saved. The things that's foretold by the prophets that certain things is going to happen, man. Like I said, Scripture talk about Jeremiah 28:8, where the prophets prophesies of war, evils, pestilence. These things were foretold by the prophets relating to war, evils, and pestilence, man. So that's what they're speaking. These things were foretold since the beginning, man. You're seeing the manifestation of that. This is something short. I want to give all praise Yahweh Shemir, Shabbat Shemir, Kakada, Zayah, Wolf. I hope this helps in some way. Shalom.